Hi, this is Eva for Once Upon a Timeline. Welcome to Midnight Mandela. So today is a little bit of a miracle because I'm actually on time. Yes, look at that. Even 1 minute early. That should confuse a lot of people. Okay, so I'm checking out who's here. Lord Frybread, Angels Don't Fall. Random Crap. I kind of like that one. Shari D, of course. Thank you for coming. Preliminal. I think that's a Petite Penguin is in here. Did I say jumping ship already? Well, I said it twice now. I think that's, I know, sorry. It's a new timeline. I showed up on time. I know. How did that happen? Actually, part of the reason it happened is I just skipped work today. Every now and then I'm like, screw it, I'm not going to work. I was like really sleepy today. Just not like super tired, but just like blah out of it. And I'm like, eh. So if I don't go to work, then I don't have to rush get back here, and then the computer worked. So the good thing that came out of it. Let's see. Checking the recipes. I like. I've been wiped out and feeling weird and shifted. Yeah, I don't know. The last couple days. So I actually don't have a lot of Mandelas today, which is part of the reason why. I'm definitely going to jump on Lord Frybread's Mandela here. The JFK 50-cent piece changed for me today. It looks like JFK has a mohawk and needs a ponytail. Also, the BER letters from Liberty are touching hair. Now, normally I probably wouldn't cover this one because I have no idea how this thing looked. But this is how it looks now. So you guys that know, you have to tell me. I do agree this looks pretty cheesy. I mean, like you can't, like the letter is squashed and you can't see the bottom of the E. Um, Liberty. It looks like an F. Who came up with this plan? Wouldn't they just shrink the head down a tiny little bit to not squash the Liberty? Is that symbolic or what? Anyways, yeah. I don't know what to say. It's a crappy job. Looks like the W for the we is over the head too. I don't know. You guys tell me though. Is that what you remember? Well, okay. So you guys all seem to agree that it looks funny. Goliath stick insect from Australia. I think I've had that one on. Random crap is early for once, and Eva, yours truly was early for once. So truly, we are in a new timeline. Watch your head. Yeah, I don't. That would be like the first thing I would jump on. Doesn't look like JFK. Unless JFK changed. Maybe JFK doesn't look like JFK. JFK profile. I have to admit, JFK is like really normal looking for me, and somehow I just I don't have a really good bead in my mind on exactly what he looked like. Okay, so I really don't remember his hair looking like this, but it does match the coin. Let me just bring this coin over to the side here. And, oh, of course it doesn't load. You stinker. That was like the perfect one. All right, let's try this one then. Okay, so there he is. Profile. His nose looks different in here, I think, than it looks bigger. Let's see, mouth. Now his real head has a kind of a dimple thing here. See, it kind of goes new, new. Now maybe that's because he's old and he got wrinkles, but still. The mohawk thing seems to fit with the current JFK, though. His hair was like that in this timeline. I think they did some liberties on the hair, brushing it a certain way, but that could have been done by a stylist. So I don't know. I'd say just the nose doesn't quite look right. me see if I can find a different picture where he's smiling a little more. This one is like perfect here. I think that's the one that just didn't load though, right? Yeah. Yeah, his nose looks like it's a little overinflated and pointy on the coin itself. Okay, here's a younger him. See if that's gonna load. Not very big. The forehead looks a little closer in this. It's a little off somehow, though. You know what? It looks like they gave him a little less forehead. It looks like they shrunk his forehead. The hair comes way down. He's missing some forehead. But that might have been to make him look better. Because he's pretty young in this one. And look at all that forehead territory. And here, it's just not there. It should be like way up into that region. The nose is wrong. It's still wrong. That nose doesn't match him. It's interesting. The rest looks pretty good. Looks. You know what? His ear doesn't really look right either. He has a nice chiseled ear here. But here, it's kind of a saggy ear. You know, I've never really like went on a coin and compared it to the real guy before. So I don't know if it's common for them to take liberties like this. Open new link. Let's try this one. All right, see, saggy ear. Let's get rid of that one. And here, it's not saggy. The interior of the ear does not at all match his regular ear. See, he had a big bump right there. Completely missing in here. So that's interesting. Yeah, this ear, it doesn't match. And there should be like a triangle there. That's that. I wonder if they just have like the generic ear they use. And see, his ear is pretty long and it's not. Now this guy's ear is scary. I'm not sure who that is, but he looks kind of like an elf. Okay, so yeah, it doesn't really look like him, I agree. Not horrible, but it's not right. Real JFK and Coin had a big head. Haircut on Coin was normal before. Okay, so I don't know. Maybe he just has a goofy haircut in this timeline because all of his side views from that side do show that pompadour looking. Basically, if you part your head lower, your hair lower, then you get that look. Because I often part my hair on the side. And if I part it too low and I look to the side, it looks like that, which I don't really care for. So then I readjust it to part it closer to the top of my head. So maybe he just wore goofy hair in this timeline. Yeah, I don't know who that other dude was, actually. Let me see if I can find it again. Oh, it just says, it's just a Getty Images, and those are usually useless. Let's see. Because it usually doesn't tell you crap about it. If it'll even load. Yeah, see, there's really no... That's one thing I've noticed. These images, like weird stuff, just shows up in Getty Images as one of the first places it shows, and you're like, what is that? It never has any info. You would think they would like put as much info as they had on it, but they don't. My gosh, Gemini and Aries, Gemini and Moon last couple days. I don't know, is that bad? Mine is Cancer. I always hated being Cancer, the crab. I'm like, I don't want to be crabby. Crabs aren't that cool. And like Cancer, that sounds horrible. I remember when I was a kid, I'm like, whatever, when I didn't know what my sign was, I'm like, well, I just hope it's not cancer because that sounds horrible. But yes, it was cancer. Like I wanted to be something cool like Leo or something. Although now that I've known Leos, I think they're I'm glad I'm not one, but I mean Leos can be great, but they can really be difficult. The ones that aren't being great are very difficult. That was Konrad Adenauer, German chancellor. Okay, well he's got elf ears. Yeah, I had to make peace with my crab, my inner crab. So I don't know if like all that, I'm really not good at astrology stuff. So if all that stuff that Joe Bloor said means anything for Cancer, let me know. Okay, so that covers the coin changes. I did notice the last few days, like the last, no, it's like the last week and a half. There's been a couple changes in my clothes. It's just minor stuff, but like I have this black sweater I wear a lot, like kind of a pullover. And I used to kind of have to look at it to see if it was inside out. Like, you know, when you pull it out of the dryer and you're going to wear it and you're like, okay, because it's black on both sides, right? Okay. Got to kind of peer at it to see where the subtle pattern is or where the seams are. The other day I yanked it out, I think it was last week, and uh, there was all this white on the inside. Like, I don't even know why, because the whole thing is black and it used to be all. Why would you use some kind of white inside a totally black sweater? So I don't even know what it's in there for, but on the inside, they apparently use some kind of white fabric to like, I don't know, shore up the seams or something. And then they stitched it still with the black stitching, but you can see the white on the inside. So now it's very easy to tell if it's inside out because you'll see that white stitched area up on the shoulders. I'm like, what the hell? So I pull it out, you know, and I'm like, I see the white. I'm like, what sweater is this? Because it's not mine, you know. I'm like, I look at it. I'm like, where did this come from? It was exactly the same except for that weird white stitching. So, and then there's another that I have that I wear underneath my shirt a lot, and that one used to be like reversible for colors, but and I used to always use it wear it with the black side out, and now it's not reversible. So if you wear it with the black side out, then all the seams stick out, and then it makes it look really stupid under your shirt. And I'm like, the hell! So I can't wear that color out anymore. And so I'm like, that just changed like 3-4 days ago, and I wear that all the time. So it's like, what? Just like weird little things, and you know, maybe it's just for these big things. I've just gotten so like songs are always changing lyrics in little ways, and I've just gotten more like, I'm not even going to cover that because every song has changes now, and it just bugs me. And I'm like, I'd be on here every day going, now these 10 songs have these little bitty changes. Elf ear. I've said it before. I feel like people's ears are getting more elfin. They're getting pointier. And even mine, I think mine, and they're not bad looking because I didn't get that weird, like, Biden has a funny thing on his ear where it's like, it looks all, I don't know, it's like, instead of having a separate lobe, the lobe is like stuck to his cheek more. It doesn't have like a lobe, it just like goes right in. Like they used to do that for if they were doing like alien characters that were like fish creatures that lived under the water. For some reason, they wouldn't have a separate lobe, and they made it look like more streamlined. That's how it looked. And there's actually a big stink because they said that Biden has a clone, and on one, like half of his photos, he has that funny fish ear, and the other half he doesn't. And that's the argument that he was a clone. But I'm like, yeah, if they did like a doppelganger copy, I think they would make sure that they did the stupid ear too. But what it looks like to me is that every official photo, like released by the White House for press release, has had that goofy ear airbrushed out. So when you look at it, anything that's snapped by some photographer like on the fly, come out of the White House, he has fish ear. But anything that's officially released, they like tidy him up, and so he doesn't have fish ear. So, not saying that any of that other stuff couldn't be true, but I don't think that that particular one is smoking gun that people think it is. Now with airbrushing and Photoshop and video editing, it's like so hard to figure out anything. Check the Ajimala Shiva Temple, Ijinjam Beach. Man, you guys are challenging me with these pronunciations today. I'm kind of glad I took the whole day off to nap and do close to nothing, because I feel somewhat recovered with my brain cells now. Okay, here we go. Ajimala Shiva Temple, Vizinjam Beach. I'm not getting any better at saying that. Images. Was it like, oh, interesting. It looks like some weird anime thing. Are we going to load? All right. I'm taking our sweet time. I wanted that one because it showed how big it was. Okay, this one's pretty useful here. Come on, computer. Here we go. Okay, so it definitely looks like anime, doesn't it? Link a new tab. There's so many new statues everywhere. They're just like spawning. Maybe this is spawned from all those people watching anime and manga. Well, it's not the ugliest statue I've ever seen. But it's not the kind of statue we're used to seeing. So what, it's like, say these people are 6 foot tall, so 6, 12, 24, maybe like 35, 40 feet high, not including that trident. Interesting. Gotta admit that recent change of Texas having a coast got me. Yeah, I know. I'm like, I think I saw that a few weeks ago, and I was like, just kind of, it happens. I look at it, and I'm like, something's not right, but I can't put my finger on it, even though it's right there in front of my face. And so then it took a few weeks, and I'm like, wait a minute, the coast. Yeah, Shari does find a lot of weird stuff. Texas was always on the coast for me, especially due to Hurricane Katrina coming in. That was a big deal. Yeah, so for me, though, it was like in Mexico. So the hurricane could come in and tag Texas, but it would have to come in inland a little bit before it smacked Texas. It wasn't right on the coast. It was near the coast. Yeah, it kind of looks like one of those, it looks like one of the, what is it, MSUD, Marvel, the Marvel Universe, what's that guy that's the, Poseidon or something? Oh, that's Shiva. I get it, it's Shiva. Okay, okay. I saw it, I read it, but I didn't click. That's Shiva. Okay, so Shiva's such a mess now. Um, so it was a female, but then it was like this this chick looking dude, kind of androgynous. Now they're saying that Shiva has two aspects, male or female, which was not the case before. And I don't even know if that female on the top here is supposed to be the other aspect or what. But yeah, no, I don't know. I give up. So when was that? When did that come that there was a female aspect? That was some months ago, maybe like a year, that they had it has a female. They have a, I got to start using the right pronouns. They have a female aspect. Change the live chat. Woo! Dum. Okay. I swear the Gulf of Mexico is going to become the inland sea of Mexico if it keeps getting closed off. Yeah, I think so, but that's the pattern we're seeing all over is protected and closed sea type areas. Texas has a coast. What? Yeah, it does. All right, I'm going to go back and check. USA map. So I'm liking this Swiss cows search engine so far. The only thing you need to know is it does not have porn. And occasionally, if you're looking for weird animal parts, you will find that nothing shows up. Even though you didn't have porn on the mind, you just wanted to see what's up with that. But I found that out earlier today. All right, I need a better map. That's not a good map. Because it has to show Mexico and the ocean. Here we go. See, that's what's tricky. A lot of these maps don't show, they haven't been showing Mexico on a lot of these maps. So as Texas scoots over, you may not notice right away. And it's going slow. Slow. All right, not that one. Let's try this one. Okay, here we go. Opening a new link. All right, well, we'll just keep it there. So see, I don't remember. Here we go. I don't remember the coast, I remember Texas being more like in here. And then Mexico coming up around here. So Mexico had this coastline. And so this zag here in Mexico like that doesn't look right to me. Mexico was under Texas. So I've been saying for a while I felt like Texas was scooting to the east because it used to be like kind of more closer to Cali. It wasn't halfway away like this. Sometimes I do check these intermittently because I ship. And so what shipping method I use has a little bit to do with how far the destination is. And certain shipping methods are cheaper if it's far, like flat rate, which has no length, doesn't change with the length of the shipping, versus like parcel select or something. So I do occasionally check that, and I'm somewhat, like if I'm shipping to Maine, it's going to flat rate because I'm over here. So yeah, strange. Up in here too, I feel like this has been growing. All raggedy on the coast here. The other one is here. Somebody mentioned this on the comments that there's 6 Great Lakes. I think they might have been thinking of this one as being another Great Lake. Technically, it's still part of Lake Huron, but I don't know why, because it doesn't look like part of Lake Huron. I mean, it looks like its own lake, right? But they're still calling it part of Lake Huron. So I feel like Lake Ontario and Lake Erie have gotten a lot bigger, though. So I'm just wondering if eventually this will break off and they'll say, well, actually, there's 6 Great Lakes. Yeah, so I guess what Shiva looks like Poseidon now. I don't know. Historically, Galveston got destroyed many times by hurricanes. Well, I've said before years ago that I don't remember Texas having all these hurricane problems and flooding like 20 years ago. I was actually but that's a very older Mandela, maybe 10 years old. Just, you don't have to be right on the coast to get whacked by hurricanes, though. I mean, if you're just a little inland from coast, this hurricane can still do a lot of damage. Apparently, the Great Pyramids have 8 sides now. That one surprised me. Yes, that is an older Mandela. We discovered that around 5 years ago. But it's only the one. The one called the Great Pyramid has 8 sides. The others don't. And I checked that last week, and it still didn't. Yeah, Mexico's east of Texas. Yeah, it was like, yeah, exactly. So, yeah, see, because Mexico's all in here. So this was over here more. And then Mexico came up over here more. And it had all of the coast. I just woke up my spouse, showed him, he says I'm nuts. So what, he remembers that it had a coast? Maybe he doesn't, but he does. People are like, well, of course it always did. And you can tell that they're like rattled, and they wouldn't be rattled if it always did. All right, so there's that one. All right, where are we now? Okay, now, here is the thing. I have no memory of clicking on that. I don't know where that came from. Is this one I clicked on? Is this the one that was a link here? I felt fairies, I think. I heard fairies 82. Shari, is this your link? I think that's it. That's why I've never seen it, because it is not my link. Okay, what is that stuff? Okay, it is not in English. All right, well, let's go to... We have a solution. For those of you who don't know, Google Translate will translate pages for you, and it's pretty easy. So you go to the regular Google Translate. All right, now it pops up here, but you can't use this one. It doesn't work on this one. You actually have to click on the Google Translate on the Google's webpage, not on DuckDuckGo's webpage or... All right, so now you have the full screen Google Translate, and then you take the URL from the page that you want translated, and you just slap it into the source part, and then it translates. And so this will be the translated page if all goes well. The translations aren't always perfect, but you can like get the drift. There. Takes it a minute. Oops. It was there a second ago. There we go. A curious artifact was discovered under the asphalt and eternal roads or ancient technologies. Let me just make sure. I just moved my screen. Let me make sure I'm still in the middle. Yes, I am. Okay. Another curious artifact was discovered, which does not correspond much to the official version of the story. They removed the asphalt of Kronstadt and found such a road. First, what kind of metal is this? According to the official version, this is cast iron, but cast iron rusts. I remember heating radiators, which just rust. Yeah, cast iron rust. It's just like when you have a cast iron pot, you can't leave water in it. You have to make sure that it's coated with fat and dry. If you do put water in it, you have to dry it off right away or it rusts. So how could it be under the road there and there's no rust? Cast iron is a brittle metal and would burst long ago. I don't know about that, but this iron is no demolition for him. Okay, bad translation. But how was it then forged? The date is 1819. Is it in a primitive forge? Huh, that is interesting. The structure of the checkers, I'm assuming those are those little rings, has thermal gaps like in bridges, which is essentially a mesh that holds the ground together. In the moment of repair is extremely simple and at minimum cost. The checker was covered. They took out the whole one and inserted it instantly. Okay, translation again. Okay, so there's a lot of this stuff. That's a lot of work to put in for a road, but it does kind of look like it would last for eons. According to official history, metal was not cheap at that time. It's like building a road now, let's say, from carbon fiber. There is no expediency and rationality in this. Well, how are they poor in carriages and carts and such a road traveled? Here is happens on the primer by car, and when you drive, your teeth chatter. What about horses? A couple of steps and good boy horseshoe. Yeah, unless it was meant to be covered over by some kind of covering. I think that they're talking about this might be Tartaria stuff, though. If they didn't ride on horses, then they wouldn't have to worry as much. Yeah, so the argument is if this would be bad on horse hooves, unless it was covered over with something, or the horse would be lame. Yeah, lame like in, injured foot. So if they were really built in 1816 when they used horses, this would be bad for horses, is the argument. There's very little information about these roads, but they were somewhere on top. They just laid asphalt, and somewhere they dismantled it. Somewhere. So I think they're saying in places they laid asphalt, and in other places they removed it. The reason voiced by the officials, such roads were made in swampy areas. Since the stone went into the swamp and they made a cast iron coating that did not go into the swamp. But iron would have gone into the swamp in exactly the same way. Yeah, I agree. I don't really see how big, heavy chunks of iron wouldn't smoosh into the swamp just as easily. It is on this road that there is information. The road of Kronstadt was spied on in New York, namely Major General V.P. Lebedev, who repeatedly visited America, ordered to be done. They made a coating at the steamship plant, which he led. But how then to explain that the passages in the central square in the city of Zdanov, which are now under asphalt, were laid out with almost the same cups? And there are many examples of such a coating. Or did Lebedev work there too? Why and for what transport all this was done? Breaking such a checker, I think they mean the circles, is hardly possible. It's difficult. It's not suitable for modern rubber wheels. The friction coefficient with rubber wheels is less than all conceivable limits. Okay, so they're saying it sucks cars. And when braking, the car flew out of the rut. Not sure what that means. The road is golden both in modern times and even more so in the past. Inexpedient and not rational in modern times because it is expensive and not functional. The metal road fit well with the theory that electricity used to be and was extracted in a different way. They were grounding to obtain a negative potential, and towers with domes on which there were receiving antennas served as positive potential. Subsequently, these structures were occupied by temples and mosques. Okay, see, there's a more example of it. Okay, so basically this is harking back to current Tartaria theory. And this Tartaria theory is not that wacky because it does work to an extent in the current timeline. That you basically, electromagnetic waves and fields are all over the place, and they're different, like say way up high than low. So if you ground something and then run a wire really high, and you can kind of, I might be a little off on, but it's the way I kind of understand it is via induction. Like as the electromagnetic changes between the two locations, you get a little bit of low, and you can basically harvest it that way. And so the argument here, I believe, is that they're saying that this might have been part of the harvesting system to lay these out. If they didn't use horses, then it wouldn't really matter that this is bad for horse hooves. And that was why it was like that. That's the argument. Whatever mode of transport they used might have been fine with these things. Then they would argue that these are really old roads, older than maybe claimed, or maybe what was used during that era is not what was claimed. Like, this is the hidden technology, free energy, Tartaria argument. Yeah, it's definitely interesting. And thank you, Google Translate. Google is good for something still. Not a lot, but something. I have a long video on my watch later called Imagining the 10th Dimension. Yeah, atmospheric energy, basically. So it sounds kind of kooky, but really you can, and I had not heard of this like 20 years ago, but really it is accepted technology now that you can do this. So then it's instead of alternating current, it's direct current, and you need to know how to store it and wrangle it and stuff. And there's not much info on that. I think really smart, but I think I remember about kangaroos being able to slice dingoes. Not sure on that. I think I remember them being able to kick dingoes. I remember kangaroos being able to kick hard for a long time, though. Am I freezing? Anyone remember kangaroos having a long, sharp claw that can slice you open? No, I don't remember that. Kangaroos have a sharp... No, they just would kick you. Is it on the bottom foot? Actually, I think I'm going to keep this one. Well, I'll just keep this one here. Because I might put that on my Tartaria subreddit. Actually, I could keep that one also. Don't need that one. All right, so kangaroo. I just remember it being the power of the kick, though. I don't remember any slicing. I mean, I don't really see how a claw would be that helpful when it's, running on a claw. Wouldn't it snag on everything, or is that the hands that have the claws now? Ooh, it's going so slow. Look at that. It's half hour and I haven't even really started yet. Kangaroo paws, hands, and claws. Kangaroos have really sharp claws. Each toe on their forepaws is a long, curved claw. They also have 3 claws on each hind paw. Okay. Yeah, no, I don't remember that. I don't remember them ever talking about that. Because you see people wrestle with them, and they don't get sliced open. So the danger was always just don't get kicked. Their feet are so razor sharp that they can cut through a human's clothing and abdomen in a few seconds. Yeah, no, I don't think so. Do kangaroos have claws on their feet? Not necessarily, but both do have sharp dew claws. So the dew claws are like a higher up claw of the main. So the main foot is here, and then there's some people, those like on dogs, are always snagging on everything. Maybe that's the point of dew claws. You used to wonder what's the point of dew claws. They were like, vestigial or something. They were always snagging on everything. But maybe they're going to grow into some like dangerous weaponry or something. I don't even know why they call them dew claws. Like, claws are sharp enough to disembowel a predator. So it looks like it's mostly the dew claws. Yeah, nope, I don't remember it. Need inputs off. Thanks for coming. Appreciate it. What's the point of thumbs? I don't know. You could grab stuff. It's very helpful for that. Okay. Blink. As you can see, we're going to get into galaxy stuff. All right, I think I'm caught up with you guys. All right, so I'm going to get into some galaxy stuff. So Shari D was talking about our place in the universe to me, and so I did check it. Wait, I'm way out here. And it's always confusing now because it seems like there's like 10 different maps that all show 10 different things. But one thing, so here we are here. This is our solar system. And this is Perseus. I'm like, oh, did we even have a Perseus way back? I'm a little fuzzy on that. And then this is Carina Sagittarius. So that's been there a while. And I think this is a newer version now. It's called Carina Sagittarius. And then we're like in the middle. So I thought that what we had was there was an Orion arm that was long, and then they called it, our little offshoot was the Orion spur. And it just occurred to me that now the Orion spur and the arm are the same. I thought there was a big one called Orion, but now there's just this little. So here where this orange is to be Orion Cygnus, that's what we're on now. And it's only really, it's not even as long as that word is. And it's in between Carina Sagittarius and Perseus, best I could tell. So then, well, like, when did Orion become Orion Cygnus, or was that in the past and now it's not? I'm really getting confused because a lot of these just don't have any dates, and there really aren't that many actual, like, maps. Now, this one is from the current wiki, so I'm assuming Orion Cygnus is what we are on now instead of just Orion Spur, Orion Arm, or whatever else. Then I found, so this, because I'm assuming the wiki will have the most recent stuff. I mean, maybe that's a wrong assumption, but there you go. But then I also found this one. Again, we are here. Dum, dum, dum. And then Orion Spur, that's what we remember it being called not long ago. And then they said Cygnus X is here, but Cygnus Arm is up here. I'm like, is this Cygnus Arm or is this Cygnus Arm? And if this is Cygnus Arm, then why is Cygnus X not on Cygnus Arm? So apparently, though, they combined Orion Spur with Arm, and now it's a Cygnus Orion, Orion Cygnus. I'm confused. And then I don't even recognize any of this other crap. Gum Nebula, the sun. The Gum Nebula is right near the sun. Have you ever heard of the Gum Nebula? Have you ever heard of the Vela Molecular Ridge? No. So I don't know what the hell's going on with that. Wow, signal came from Sagittarius. Well, see, I remember us talking about Sagittarius being like on the other side of the galaxy, but now it's kind of confusing because Sagittarius is right here zooming by us. So way out here on the end of Sagittarius here, but we're not far from Sagittarius. So if you say something came from Sagittarius, we're almost like sitting on it now. I don't know. It's getting confusing. Every time I look at this thing, it's changed subtly, and it makes me crazy. Okay, so there's that. And then while I was looking at that, so what looks weird here? I'm looking at this. Now, I have said before, I don't remember us being a bar galaxy. Okay? And I've been saying it's getting longer and longer, that bar. And now it's called long bar. There's a fatter oval called galactic bar, and then a longer, skinnier oval called long bar. Now, this is the first time I've ever seen two different ones with two different delineations, both at the center and both being long ovals. So I did some digging. I'm like, well, now it's like the bar has split into two things. What is it? So it seems that galactic bar is, oh wait, that's a different one. I'm not even going to look it up because I'm too lazy. But galactic bar is basically the same as galactic bulge. So what they're saying now is that the Earth, the Milky Way, is no longer just a flat plane. It has like a bulge in the center, like an egg. You know how there's like the flat white part and then the yolk? So basically, the galactic bar is like an oval-shaped yolk that sticks up from the galactic plane, and that's the galactic bar. So the galactic bar is the bulge, like the yolk, and the long bar represents an extra density of stars. But why is it that the extra density of stars does not correspond to the bulge? I don't know. It just showed up for me, and I didn't find any explanations. But yeah, we've got a bulge now, I guess is the main point. So thanks to Shari for pointing some of this stuff out. And this is another thing that Shari pointed out that she heard. And she showed me a video, and so I just kind of looked for websites that kind of coalesce what was in the video. So now they're saying that the Earth exists in like a bubble, which exists inside another bubble. And the bubble is like of an area with minimal amounts of gas and dust. And so somehow the sun got right in the middle of the bubble. How convenient. And it's not very bubble shaped, but it's like blob shaped. But they're saying that this bubble is minimal amounts of dust and more vacuum, and that makes it easier for us to travel around and see, which I've never heard of. The cosmic void is, and then on these edges here, they're saying these are star forming regions. So I thought that the star forming regions were more in the center of the galaxy, basically. But now they're saying that the star forming regions are on the outskirts of our bubble. The cosmic void is surrounded by multiple star-forming regions created by the explosions. And I think, was it neutron stars or something? New study suggests 15 powerful star explosions inflated the cosmic bubble. So the story somehow is stars explode and they're pushing out all the material away. I don't really get how that would be, because like, if a star exploded over here, it would push stuff this way. But then if a star exploded over there, wouldn't it just push it all back? How is it that, like, are all the stars in the center and then pushing out, or what? It seems a little problematical to me to just think that they're all exploded in one little spot and made these bubbles. And then the story is there's bubbles all over, probably other solar systems existing in bubbles. We're in the local bubble. No stars had formed inside the blob, which is the local bubble, for around 14 million years. The only stars inside the bubble either existed before the bubble emerged or formed outside the void and are now passing through. The sun is one such trespasser. The setup suggests that several supernovas were responsible for this void. That blasted materials needed to make new stars, such as hydrogen gas, to the edge of the huge area in space, leaving behind the local bubble that's surrounded by a frenzy of starbursts. And they're also saying this bubble like protects the Earth from, I don't know, radiation and crap, because it's all dusty just around the edge and blocks a bunch of crap. That kind of storyline. The bubble's expanding, whatever. Swiss cheese bubbles. So the story now is that, like, there's a Swiss cheese in the universe of these bubbles. So I was reading somewhere else, there's like another bubble around the first bubble, and it's all, I don't know. My brain was getting tired, so I just didn't totally check on all of it, but I think there was like one bubble and then another bubble, and then I didn't have an explanation for all of that, and my brain was tired. Okay, Shari's got a cow video. For me, Sagittarius was even recently on the edge of the Milky Way, so I'm now generally freaked out. Yeah, I just don't remember being right next to Sagittarius, because then what would what is it point of saying, oh, we were on the Sag arm, when we're now almost on the Sag arm, but we were like, no, oh my God, we're on the Orion arm. I remember the Orion arm being a big arm and the Sag arm being another big arm. And then we were on a Orion spur or Orion bridge. And then it might have changed a while ago, though, because when was it that I first saw them calling it Orion arm? That must be when the rest of the arm went away. I feel like my brain has just been like tossed through so many timelines that it's just getting hard to hold the threads together. And it's so ongoing, too. All right, I don't know if this one's going to load. It's not doing anything. Nope, it's not that. All right, so I'm going to get rid of that one. Get rid of that one. The bubble one. Oh, that's the galactic bulge and the long bar story. Okay. The galactic bar and the box peanut. And box peanut bulge. What the heck is box peanut bulge? Can be studied in an unrivaled manner, star by star. Okay. I don't think that was the one I planned to save, but it shows that the galactic bulge is different than the long bar. So on this, I think it might be kind of hot off the presses. Because a lot of them are still calling it like long bar bulge and stuff. They're not separating them into two distinct things. Okay. Let's go back. So yeah, clicking on that link did not yield satisfaction. They just threw out the tech used to go to the moon. Yeah, I know, it's ridiculous. We got it together so fast and they lost it all and we can't replicate any of it. Yeah, right. Yeah, I don't know what to think about the moon and space and stuff. I mean, if this is all a simulation, then 10 things could be true at once, depending on how they write the storyline, you know? Plus, you know, I only went to the moon once in my old timeline, not like 6 times. So there's that. It's like, all right, blah, blah. Okay, so those are all by Shari. So good find, Shari. All right, I'm going to do the stuff that Swiss Cows doesn't like last, just in case something happens to the show. All right, now I've got a bunch by Sapioit. So let's get to this one. Apparently in the 1930s, we had a thing called Helicron car. Helicron. So basically it's a car that went by it moved by a giant propeller in the front. It's amazing how many weird cars and stuff we've had now. Oh, so slow. So this is the Helicron car. Yeah, it's really going slow. So yeah, it has this giant propeller, and the propeller just pulls it along. And if you run into a pedestrian, that pedestrian is toast, to put it mildly, because they'll get chewed up. But apparently, otherwise, it worked nicely. You just can't hit anybody with this sucker. So that was 1930s. I've never seen that before. That's crazy. So you can see the propeller is moving here. I'm assuming he has it and like the brakes are on or he's cranking along slow. But apparently it worked quite well, and it got a lot of people said it was more efficient than regular cars. Has anybody seen Byron's, aka Harmony Mandela Effects interview with the Toronto Business Journal? No, why don't you clue us in on what was in it? I've noticed cars both new and old driving daytime with front lights on. Well, you know, daytime running lights are old for me, the last 10 years, but maybe they weren't in your timeline. So my last two cars had daytime running lights. So when you turn on the car, the lights just come on. I'd be scared a bird would fly into the propellers. Yeah, that is the thing. Hits it, it's toast. And that's a tiny little bitty windshield. But anyways, there you go. Weird stuff. Let's see what else is in here. This spelling's gonna be a challenge. Oh, okay, but I already have it in there. This one kind of reminds me of an X-Wing fighter from Star Wars or something. Messerschmitt P1109. Rotating wing plane. Apparently there was several versions of this, but basically this was from the end of World War II. We didn't have this tech in my timeline. But these wings like rotate. So the Nazis had this. These wings can rotate like this while it's flying to do certain maneuvers and stuff. That's just a model. Let me find like one. I don't know if they have photos. Okay, here. No, that's not a photo. Oh, maybe they don't have photos of it. All of these look like fake ones, but apparently they supposedly did have these and they did operate. Then apparently later we had another version that was similar, but the wings would move together. They could be raked back or in the middle or raked forward. That might be R1, I'm not sure. Because R1 was more ours was more symmetrical, our version of it. So not long after they had one, then we made one. Okay, here's the design on it. Okay, so that's just one wing. Now, I remember I see that there's two at once, so that must be a whole nother design. But yeah, turbo. So like I said, I don't even remember there being jets in World War II, and there are now, so there you go. We just didn't have this tech that could do all this stuff before. You see there's one wing on the top and one on the bottom. Let's see, that's the P1109. Yes. So see, there's one wing there, one wing there. That's pretty weird. I've never seen that. So yeah, that was another one by Sapioid. Good job. Okay, and then Sapioid also found some more info on that Fingerprint Island stuff that I dug up last week. Or was it 2 weeks ago? I think that was last week. Protect plants. So apparently the storyline is pretty substantial about these stone walls in Croatia to protect plants. And I had mentioned before that there was a talk of these things being on the mainland area. There's Fingerprint Island here. So it's just an island with a million walls on it that I don't remember. And let's see, looks like there's a bunch of them on the mainland of Croatia. So supposedly they put these things together just with stones. Like they would smoosh them together really tight. And sometimes they would make a double, well, actually often, supposedly, they made double walls and then filled in the spot in the middle. I kind of have to laugh because, Trump and his build a wall thing, and now the Mandela is like doing it. Is it like all the Republicans loving walls are making these things manifest? I don't know, but you have to laugh at the irony of it all. Let's see. Was that really the title? All right, darn it, I'm not finding it now. Let's try an apostrophe. I thought that was the title. But maybe not. Maybe it was just that title. There it is. I added that extra stuff. All right. I'll get rid of Helicron. Most of Croatia islands, or Lika, you've probably noticed long stone walls. Long walls made of stone. These walls are called suhozid, dry stone wall in singular, or suhozidi, dry stone walls in plural. They're used to delineate beaches, courtyards, fields, forests, gardens, mountains, vineyards. They use them for sheep. They use them for plants. So part of the story is they would put these walls up and then if it's for plants, they would dig a hole down deeper, then put the low-growing plant in there, and maybe if it was trees, you could keep them topped off, and they would be below the walls. I've just never heard of, like, having walls to protect plants before. Then there's all the types, purposes, animals, floods, snow slips, drainage, shelters for animals, restriction of passing, boundary markers. All right, there's some of them. So some of these are a little more sophisticated than what you saw there. I don't, it's kind of like I'm looking at these and going, what exactly? It's just is it supposed to be, it's a bunch of X's? Monument was built in memorial victims of a tragedy. Okay, so that is an art. That's a newer one. That's why it looks nice. Okay, this one I believe is an older one. Archaeological site is called Itarska Mycena, which means Istrian Mycenae. Don't know what either of those means. It's the biggest dry stone wall construction in Croatia, inhabited between 2000 BC and 1200 BC. Okay, so that's a pretty thick wall. Doesn't say what it's for. Okay, these are for sheep, supposedly. Srema Peninsula is one of the largest and probably the oldest dry stone landscapes in Croatia. It was likely constructed in the Middle Ages using a complex dry stone walling structure. You can get the real experience only when seeing it from the air. Let's see if I can load this up a little bit larger. Not really. I wonder if it's new. There's no real good photos of it. Okay, there's the fingerprint island that I swear just showed up. There's more there. Built 2,400 years ago. Is the oldest ancient Greek parceling in the world. I've not heard of this ancient Greek parceling. Most well-known dry stone landscape in Croatia, yet considered quite young compared to most. It was built in the middle of the 20th century. Okay, that does look very vineyard-like with the squares. Okay, anyway, yeah, it just seems like that stuff's... The walls are coming up everywhere. My brother-in-law, Philip, doesn't believe in the Emmy, won't research it, and still believes the North Pole massive ice sheet's still there. Yeah, well, I had the sheets are still there, but they're all low. There's no cliffs anymore. Most of us are feeling like no friend or family talk to about changes. Yeah, it's really hard at first, I've gotten a lot better with it, but it's just still weird when you see another one and you can't talk about it, especially when it's on your home turf, Oh, okay. Shari, is that the link to the new body part? I did see something where they were saying they found a new body part hiding in the lungs, but then they said it was just cells. So maybe that's going to grow larger. Found hiding in the lungs. Yes, this is the exact one I saw. A brand new type of cell hiding inside the delicate branching passageways of human lungs. The newfound cells play a vital role in keeping the respiratory system functioning properly and could even inspire new treatments to reverse the effect of certain smoking-related diseases. Yep. So that's probably going to grow more. It's just starting off as some cells. Yeah, there's actually this, I've said it many times, that this one on-ramp to the freeway disappeared. and moved way down. And a couple times I almost caught myself telling people, oh, I can't go that way because that on ramp is gone, and they'll be like, what do you mean? I was like, because it magically moved to another part of town. Yeah, I can't really say that. So I've almost spilled the beans a few times. Linda Love, I'm like, thanks for watching. Always appreciate it. It doesn't, if, as long as people get some kind of use out of it, I'm happy. It doesn't matter if you're here live or not, as long as it helps out. Let's see. All right, blah, blah, blah. Okay, I needed something for the logo. The walls weren't that exciting, and I just had those. So I picked this Fruit of the Loom logo, but not totally by randomness. So I don't know if those of you not on Retcon, I don't know if you heard, but Fruit of the Loom was trolling us on April 1st, and everywhere on their website and their social media, they changed their logo to be this one. And of course, they can't change the logo on the actual clothing. That would be too expensive. But they were trolling us. They changed it to the cornucopia. And then I assume it went away afterwards. I didn't use this one because I actually remember the cornucopia moving off that way, the opposite. Well, actually, it would be close to you because my upload program reverses images. But I remember the cornucopia being off to the left side, and now it's to the right. So actually, I'm just thinking the one I showed you, which I believe is this one, by the time you see it, it'll be reversed. It'll have that out that way. So kind of imagine the mirror image in your mind. And that's how I remember it more. I remember the cornucopia looking more tan colored and a little bit bigger. And it was more curly, and it went off to the other side than the favorite copy that was used, which is that one, which also now will be reversed for you, making it confusing. So that's why I picked it, because I needed something, and that was a famous one I've never used. Another one that came up on Retcon that's kind of interesting. Oh, and that Fruit of the Loom April Fool's Day, that was found by user Hanno1531 on Retcon. So HANNO1531. So good find on the Fruit of the Loom April Fool's Mandela trolling. I hope they had a good time. I hope they meant it in good jest. So another thing that was brought up by user Atropa94, ATROPA 94, was about 2 or 3 or 4 maybe people just came into Retcon and said that they came from a timeline where the Ford logo always had the curly Q, and then the Mandela was that the curly Q disappeared. So they're like I don't know, the alternate timeline where it was mirror image. And so for a long time it was like, oh my gosh, where did the curly Q go? And now they've suddenly shown up here, and it's a flip-flop for them because the curly Q is back. So for them, it was, yes, curly Q, then it disappeared, and now it's back. So I just thought that was interesting. We've had a wave of new visitors, not very large, but they came from the alternate timeline of the curly Qs. All right, I think I'm almost done now. What time do we got? I've got 50 minutes, 50. I did all of the Milky Way. All right, I only have 2 things left. I'm just going to see what you guys are talking about. The Loom logo that they put up looks exactly like what I remember. Yeah, it's close for me, but not quite. My basket part was bigger and lighter colored. There is someone Emmy affected working for Fruit of the Loom. Well, apparently a lot of us have called Fruit of the Loom and asked them about this, and it's probably kind of worked its way around their company. So that probably is it. I think it's a cute little troll though for the first. It's innocent. It probably wasn't meanly. Every time giant solar flares, massive Mandelas. Don't we have like a solar flare every 5 seconds nowadays anyway? Cool Whip lost its H. I think that's an older one, isn't it? I do remember it just being spelled properly, though. Pretty soon it's going to be cool with a K or some ridiculous baloney. Whoop, no, it's back. Wait a minute. I thought it lost its H. Cool Whip. I thought it was cool with an... Oh, I'm not sure on that one. This is my old spelling then. Yeah, the H is back. I wonder if that's a flip-flop. I'm pretty sure it lost its H for a while. Did you check the Mongolian? You know what? I don't think I did check the Mongolian deathworm. Shari sent me that link, and I thought I checked all her links, but I do remember seeing that link. Sometimes I see that, and I'm like somewhere, ew, is that real? No, it can't be, can it? So I have to go back later, and sometimes I lose them in the shuffle. Ooh, it's so slow. Oh, gross. How big are those things? Is that even real? All right, hold on. I'm going to have to see what's going on here. Okay, it's a cryptid, so that's not real. Mongolian deathworm. Oh, I did look at it. Okay. Dang it. See, it says I looked at it. I don't know. What was I smoking? Is a creature alleged to exist in the Gobi Desert? First came to Western attention as a result of Roy Chapman's Andrews' 1926 book On the Trail of Ancient Man. The paleontologist described secondhand tales of the monster that he heard at a gathering of Mongolian officials. None present had ever seen the creature, but they all firmly believed in its existence and described it minutely. Okay, so a giant worm. So what do we got? Like, is this Dune, the book and movie, and we have the giant worms? Did they create the spice? Investigations. Wait, no, wait, no. Wait, no, wait, no. Okay, inspired by Frank Herbert's novel Dune, even brought a rhythmic thumper to attract the worms. Small explosions. Well, obviously didn't find it. Okay. And reporting sightings likely involved unknown species of worm lizard or amphisbaena. Sightings peaked in 1950s. I don't know. Let me see what this amphisbaena is. Okay, so this is like a legend. Ew, that's amphisbaena? There's a whole bunch of them, but no other thing on the wiki. How can there be like a billion species and no info? Is a genus in the family Amphisbaenidae known as worm lizards. Over 100 species are placed in this diverse genus. Worm lizards. Okay, so then that worm lizards. Worm lizards. This is a common thing that the Mandela does. It's like, well, this may not be real, but it could just be one of these other 5,000 really creepy creatures you never heard of that are real. Oh, okay. It's just a legend. Oh, I think these we've covered some of these before. Yes, yes. Okay. Those long like snake things, but they have tiny feet and stuff. Okay, those have been on as suspiciously Mandela-ish before. Okay, so yeah, the Dune project CERN, but instead of a collider, it Earth. I'm not joking. CERN, the Dune project. Okay, I'll look that up. I'm not sure what you meant there. Oh, so slow. Deep underground neutrino experiment. Dune, CERN, Dune is the long baseline neutrino experiment, formerly known as LBNE. Deep underground neutrino experiment. Dune. You know, I've been trying to figure out when CERN supposedly is or did turn on its collider. And I'll tell you, I even went on CERN's website and looked at the news, and there's no info. Like, I clicked on this, and all the articles were old and outdated and not accurate. The CERN neutrino platform has proved a major success in enabling European participation in long baseline neutrino projects in the US and Japan. New project to detect neutrinos. New first particle track seen in prototype for international neutrino experiment. See, you click on this. I don't think it's even going to say when it turns on the collider. You would think in their own news it would say that. There's info on Ukraine, like that has anything to do with anything. Okay, let me try news accelerators. The new LHC calameters. You would think that if they just turned on the accelerator, or they're about to, it would be in their news, right? Intro to accelerator physics. Accelerators for the environment. You know, anyway, I'm not going to look anymore because I've looked at that before. Just, you can't find anything anymore. You know, it's like, like trying to even find out where we are in the galaxy. I'll find 10 sources that say 10 different things. All right. Some link here. All right. I found also 2 new weird genetic things. So if you remember back to your biology classes, they used to say that genetics, you basically got one gene from your mother and one from your father, and as they would, like, one each. Which one of theirs you got was supposedly random or something. And then the dominant one would be the one that would express, and whichever was less dominant wouldn't. And so if you got 2 less dominant ones, they could both express, or in some cases, like with fur color, they could both express at once, and you'd have just like different colored fur all over, like if you're an animal. But I've never heard about genomic imprinting. It's a little complicated, but I'll just give you like the short version. Okay, I'm going back here to this Dune neutrino thing. Neutrinos, the most abundant matter particles in the universe, in the spotlight for further research into several fundamental questions about the nature of matter and the evolution of the universe. Okay, so what? They shoot neutrinos through 800 miles of soil, and then they check them on the other side, apparently. from Fermilab to I don't know what, Sanford Underground Research Facility. Dune will consist of 2 neutrino detectors. One will be near the output and one will be way over here. Could neutrinos be the reason that the universe is made of matter rather than antimatter? With the world's largest cryogenic particle detector located deep underground, Dune can search for signs of proton decay. Dune's observation of thousands of neutrinos from a core collapse supernova in Milky Way would allow us to peer inside a newly formed neutron star and potentially witness the birth of a black hole. Okay, I don't know what any of that means really, like for anything other than, yes, it's interesting. However, I still really couldn't find any sources saying when freaking CERN is starting again. Okay, so let's go back to this genomic imprinting here. Okay, so the story now is basically that there's 2 parts to it. One part is that now when you get your genes, whether they express or not will depend on if that gene came from your mother or your father. So say it's the exact same gene, but you got it from your father, it may not express, but if you got it from your mother, it would. And I'm a little confused as to how exactly that's done, but that's the story now. And apparently they've known this from like the 70s, and then they pretty much nailed it down in the 80s, which I'm really suspicious of. Genomic imprinting is an inheritance process independent of classic Mendelian inheritance, which is what we all learned, Mendel. It is epigenetic process that involves DNA methylation and histone methylation. So basically epigenetics is like something that alters the gene expression. Even though you have the gene, it alters the expression. These epigenetic marks are established, imprinted in the germline, sperm or eggs of the parents, and are maintained through mitotic cell divisions in the somatic cells of an organism. Human diseases involving genomic imprinting include Engelmann syndrome and Prader-Willi syndrome, and male infertility. That's interesting. I have not heard of there being any known syndromes due to it, especially not male infertility. The expressed allele is dependent upon its parental origin. For example, the gene encoding such and such is only expressed from the allele inherited from the father. Although if it was expressed, if you got that gene from your mother, it wouldn't be expressed. Although imprinting accounts for a small proportion of mammalian genes, they play an important role in embryogenesis, particularly in the formation of visceral structures and the nervous system. Okay, so blah, blah, blah. So anyways, yes, so that basically means that you could like not inherit stuff from your dad even if you have his genes. But if your mom gave you those genes, they would, and they would express, or vice versa. So this is bizarre. Now, this is even more weird for me, this next one. All right, here it is. So I always thought that when you get genetics from your father, it's just in the baby, okay? The baby will have some, half of his genetics or her genetics, their genetics from the dad. But the story now is that the dad's genetics build the placenta, like the whole outside part. So when you have a placenta, the part that attaches down into the mom would be mom genes, but the part that faces the baby would be all dad's genetics, which I have never heard. So now you've got all this dad genetics in your womb. Okay, so this also something only fetuses and mothers share grows according to blueprints from dad. The study shows that paternal genes dominate in the placenta, a temporary organ integrated mother and embryo until birth. I don't even really understand why, because like what would be the benefit of having his genetics in there? Wouldn't it just cause problems with the mother's genetics? About 1% of mammalian genes choose size, a phenomena called imprinting. Okay, so that's that epigenetic stuff that I talked about before. Chemicals that bind to DNA to quiet one half and let the other lead. The mother's side of the placenta has only her genes, but in the embryo's side, Cornell scientists discovered most genes are paternally imprinted. This discovery explains what breeders call the paternal grandsire effect. Some genes, like so-called speed genes in great racehorses, skip a generation and only express in grandchildren if their carrier was a certain sex. I don't really get how the placenta determines that. Is the placenta doing the imprinting or something? We've uncovered a list of imprinting genes that could be linked to the racehorse traits and help breeders' decision making. So there kind of seems to be like a storyline now of like the genetics being kind of a war of the genders that I'm seeing too. But I've definitely never heard of this. Oops, looks like I lost you guys. Let's go back. I'm guessing you're... Nope. Yeah, that would be the live streaming YouTube. So yeah, that, and I have one more weird one. And I might as well get on it. Let's see. This one is the one that's a little tricky, and I can't use Swiss cows for this one because it will not come up on Swiss cows. So Angels Don't Fall has already gone there, although that's not the subject I was going to talk on. Eliza Powell does not remember that. Forest fires in Amazon seem to have created more territories. Yeah. Wars led to new lands. So you see, that's why I'm really suspicious about the Ukraine thing, because I don't remember Ukraine being that big at all. It's huge now. And then the East seems to be like kind of the new side. So, and then there's not much info from what's going on in there. It's just another example of that. All right, Shari's got more links. Super Soldiers of Ceres. Individuals have come together to talk about unusual memories that they claim to be abducted by ETs. What they say happened after is truly extraordinary. They claim to have been removed from their physical bodies and then placed in alternate bodies for a long period of time, often lasting for approximately 20 years. 20 years of slavery of the most brutal kind. These abductions are more different from the more normal types of abductions that have been reported in the New Age community. It is claimed that after 20 years' term is completed, the abductees are reinserted back into their original bodies at the moment when they were originally abducted. They don't remember what happened to them, but their personalities are affected. 20 years of memories are gone, but they are not the same people deep inside. You don't remember the things that you would supposedly experience there, but they're different. That whole story is weird. Okay, so I've had things where like I would have a dream that seemed to last, like an experience that seemed to last years and years, and then I'd wake up and it was just like one night or 5 minutes or whatever, dream time. And but it wasn't ever like this horrible stuff. It was just like another life. Like one time I was this male college student that was really wealthy and kind of insecure. Um, and I felt kind of insecure because I got all this wealth, but I didn't really felt like I deserved it. Um, and I just was going through college and all this stuff. And I had friends and they were like kind of wealthy too. And I was really good at schmoozing and getting along with people in that lifetime. But so, I mean, this whole idea that you could experience a whole life, like somehow go and live a whole life and then come back here doesn't seem that weird to me just because stuff like that's happened. But it just wasn't like this torture or anything. So I don't know what to say about that. I've actually never even heard of that happening to anybody, that it was bad like that. And I've definitely had like dreams where I dreamt I was in another life and was killed. Like one time I was a soldier, but it wasn't like the whole long life that so much, but I just remembered the death part. And I've just remembered like up until right before I was shot and then it was over. So I didn't feel the pain part. So I don't know. I don't know what to think. What does CERN have to do with Ukraine? Ukraine seems more pertinent to put their mission to put the date they're turning. I know they're turning back on the accelerator. So I'm just wondering if maybe the timelines have got so flippy floppy that they're just not tacking down details too much, because then later you'll find out it turned on last month or it's turning on next month. Or does anyone think Ukraine might take over Russia? I'm so sad. I don't know. I don't even know. I don't think we can even know what's going on there. I mean, both sides are lying their pants off. A lot of the stuff that a lot of the video we've gotten has been totally debunked as being video game footage, uh, snippets from literally. There was one that they basically made it look really poor quality and it was out of Star Wars. Um, some of them were past wars from 5 or 6 years ago. There was some footage that was actually from like a gas leak somewhere. So you really can't trust any of it. Then you got the fact that the tanks that the Russians use and the tanks that the Ukraine use are the same tanks. So if you see a burnt out tank, you really have no way of knowing whose it was. I mean, Ukrainians could say it was the Russians, and the Russians can say it's the Ukrainians, and you have no way of knowing. And considering everybody's lying their pants off totally, I have no idea. I have been watching some of the more independent sources saying this whole story about the Ukraine beating back Russia seems to have been debunked. That they really are not like getting new territory. It's just territory that Russians didn't go into to start with or chose to leave. Um, Again, like I said, you see bodies in the street. You have no idea if there's are Ukrainian bodies, Russian bodies. You don't know of any idea if hand shackles were added after they were already dead or before. There's also been video of the Ukrainians shooting Russian soldiers with their hands tied. So that is definitely something that the Ukrainians do. War is a horrible thing. So the whole concept that you're going to act surprised to find dead bodies in the street after war is kind of ridiculous on the severe face of it. It's, horrible things are probably surely done by both sides in that situation. So I don't think we have any idea or very little idea what is really going on. Um, we can only guess at Russia's goals. Um, a lot of what Ukraine does doesn't really make sense to me. I mean, they were offered peace with I felt were very reasonable terms, and have even refused, like Zelensky even refused to consider neutrality and not joining NATO. Basically, he won't give like 1 inch. So, I don't think he really wants peace. They poisoned the Russian soldiers. See, they said they poisoned the Russian soldiers. We don't know. There's, like the ghost of Kiev, that was turned out to be complete bunk. A lot of this has turned out to complete complete bunk. So I don't think you can really trust anything. I don't trust our propaganda. I don't trust the Russians' propaganda. I do think that the Russians are better at propaganda, and they make their stories a little harder to debunk, but they're obviously heavily biased. War usually involves lies and cover-ups. I mean, there's going to be bad stuff on both sides. That's just war. It's just how it is. Chupacabra. Thanks, Chupacabra. Yeah, Chupacabra is another one. You got to wonder if we're going to get a Chupacabra. Good news, Earthlings. 50% all probings. 50% off all probings. Yep. Seriously, I don't know, you know? I just think it's very suspicious that they both have the same tanks. You know, it's like you can't make this stuff up. All right, I'm clicking on this mystery link of Shari's. No idea what we're going to see. Shut down, no beam. Oh, is that the current state of it? Set up beam. True, true. All right, so that tells us when it is right this millisecond, supposedly. But there's like nothing on when it was on and when it wasn't. So it's not on then. I kind of get the feeling if they're setting up the beam. Yeah, that's like a good question. Next access date, the 7th of April. Isn't that today? That would be later today. Okay. Comments April 4. So this doesn't tell us if it was on last week or if this is the first day. I mean, this is the crappiest. This is like when the internet first started, you would like when I first got my first system and it cost $4,000 to get on my modem and dial up the internet. This is the quality of data I was happy to get. But I have to say, it's pretty sucks for now. I don't know. I don't like Putin. I don't know what to think of Zelensky. I mean, many love him as a hero. Well, he's being touted as a hero, but I really don't trust it. I certainly don't trust Putin either. You know, Zelensky's an actor. He played the president in a TV show for 3 years, and then he became president. He's pretty much he was brought into power by one of their top oligarchs of Ukraine, who stole like $5 billion from a bank and then fled the country and was in hiding until Zelensky came to power. Then he came back to the country. I guess he was being protected. So Zelensky, I don't trust that boy. There's no justification for Russia's actions. Now, that's not exactly true. Ukraine was bombing Donbass for 8 years. They committed a lot of atrocities, killed civilians. That's the Russian territory. It's Russians that live there. For 8 years, Zelensky promised that if they voted to leave the country, he would allow them to leave, and then he would not allow them to vote. And so it wasn't without provocation. I'm not saying I think it was a good idea to invade, but it wasn't. This geopolitical thing is not so simple as Ukraine good guy, Russia bad guy. I feel more like it's Russia bad guy, Ukraine government bad guy. And also I want to say that's Russian government bad guy, Ukraine government bad guy. We should not be taking this out on ordinary Russians who get the same level of baloney propaganda on their end as we get over here. See, Crimea also wanted to leave. They voted to leave. And there's very good reason why Crimea and Donbass wanted to leave. So Crimea and Donbass are heavily ethnic Russian. And the west side is heavily anti-Russian. And they're basically that country, those peoples are not the same peoples, the east and the west side. And they've been splitting as far as temperament for some time. The West has become more and more anti-Russian. The East is Russian. So this schism is not at all unexpected. It's been growing for a long time. Then, because the West had gotten control, and there's a lot of questions about how that went down, and I don't think we'll ever be able to sort out that situation. But the Western side got control, and they started implementing policies that hurt the East really badly. Like, one of the policies they wanted was to be completely independent of Russia. So they stopped taking Russian coal and Russian gas and Russian everything. And the problem is that Russian coal and Russian gas and Russian everything is the absolute best deal in town. And they had to like ship it in from overseas if they didn't get it from Russia. So the prices literally went up by 10 times for basic things like heating your house. The cost of heating your house became more than the average citizen made in a year. And that's a cold country. So a lot of these eastern sides said, screw this crap. We're starving and dying and freezing to death. And we want to go back to Russia, or at least the rights to buy Russian gas and oil, which is affordable. So that's why they wanted out. I mean, they literally were starving to death. So that is a lot of it. I don't even know if they love Russia. Maybe they just loved heating their house, you know? All right, so anyway, we're getting down to the last one where I have to go to Google. So like I said, I'm not picking sides exactly. I'm just saying, realize that there's a weird propaganda going on with this whole thing. You know, we did horrible things in Iraq. We did horrible things in Afghanistan. Saudis doing horrible things. The Israel is doing horrible things to Palestine, Palestinians, all these things that we're accusing of Russia of doing. A whole bunch of other countries have done, are doing, and we've even done. So suddenly us going, oh, it's war crimes. It's really like the pot calling the kettle black at this point. So really just keep that in mind. All right. So the last one. All right, I'm just going to put in part of it and see if that's enough. So we talked about, if you remember way back, the elephant, way back in the day, had a prehensile you-know-what man parts. And so apparently these tapirs now also have a prehensile you-know-what man part. And they have control of it. They can move it. Like it's a whole nother, literally a third leg almost. They can literally move this thing. I'm going to see if I can find it. I don't know if I want to find an image of it, actually. I'm going to have to type it, obviously. And this is why I couldn't use Swiss cows. Oh, and I'm on Swiss cows. See, Swiss cows will say, there's nothing. I typed it in earlier today looking for it. It doesn't exist. Because I have to be on Google. There we go. Or at least one of the others. Images. If you look up the videos, it actually, they have control of it. They can move it around like, so there's the thing. Okay, it's huge. He's scratching his side with it. Supposedly they can grab the female. It looks like it's got some kind of grabby parts on the end, like a giant pup or something. Supposedly they can grab the female and keep her from escaping with this thing, is the storyline. It's ridiculous. Have you ever heard of such a thing? I'm sorry. Check the videos. They can move it, and they can move it over here, and they can move it over there. It's like obvious the man creating this part of reality. Speaking of probings, it literally is on with the elephants, but I think that this one is more mobile even than the elephants were. Oh, rhinos have it too? They have that? Okay, I had the elephants on. I don't think I've had the rhinos on. So the elephants would use it like a third leg, and they could move it some, but they weren't like scratching their back with it and stuff. And that's they weren't like wrapping around the females, and that's what they're saying about these tapirs. We're getting closer and closer to the center of the galaxy. I wonder if the dividing of good and evil will happen when we get into the galaxy's giant black hole. That is an interesting concept. Is it like, is the way the galaxy looks like indicative of the spiritual battle? One thing I don't think we're going to get to is like where we're all perfect. So we may not make it all the way to the center. I think there's going to be a point where we shed some of the bad energy, though, hopefully. If we at least can get our energy good enough to get there. And I've heard some stories saying that, you just have to, we run at different rates because we're not able to, some of us can evolve faster than others, basically. And I have to say, I'm probably not the world's fastest evolver because I really had, like, especially as childhood and growing up, I had a really bad negative streak. I wouldn't say I was evil, but I was kind of just negative and selfish, I would say. I wouldn't do anything directly evil, but I wasn't, like, loving and kind either. So I've had to put in a lot of work in that direction. We're getting the end of the story. I don't know if there'll be an end of the story, but there may well be a whole new chapter with a whole new setting. Is men's G? I'm not. I don't. I assume so, dude. I'm not touching that one. I got to be careful because I'm not sure how picky and whiny YouTube is about this stuff. They've chilled out a lot. They used to be really hair trigger on this kind of talk, but they've been really distracted with like censoring all of the Ukraine stuff and the arm pokety jib jab stuff and all that. So it seems like they've stopped worrying so much about this kind of thing. It's kind of creepy because I've noticed like on Reddit has a really strict policy of being or saying like violent stuff. Like you could never say, I think we should burn all Iranians or something. Like any group, you can't say they need to burn. But suddenly now, if you say we need to burn all Russians should burn, or we should do this to Russians, it's allowed. And so when I see really nasty stuff, I will report it, in part because the subreddit I'm on could get in trouble if that's allowed to stay. But certain things, if you report them, they go straight to admin, and they bypass the subreddit's mods and go to a higher level. And usually, if it's at all sounding threatening, they will take pretty strong action against those people. But I've noticed that if I report anything against Russians now, they decide it's not against their terms of service, and it's perfectly fine, even when half of that violence would have been enough to take action on any other group. And I find that extremely disturbing because, like I said, that the Russian people didn't make this decision. They don't know what's going on. They have a lot of propaganda. They fall for it sometimes just as we fall for our propaganda. And most of the Russians here came here for a reason, and they don't want anything to do with that crap. So we really, really need to be careful that we don't take things out on, just ordinary people that have no decisions process in this thing. And I'm really disgusted that these places like Reddit, who claim to be not racist and protecting of rights and stuff, throw it all out the window all of a sudden. It's like you can't be violent unless you're violent against the designated enemy of this week. Very 1984. We need to, I'm really hoping we can get past that. I'm really hoping that the right people that can will see how wrong that is. It's all, what's for all. Yeah, I don't know. You got to wonder. Like, who's writing this script? If men have anything to do with it, who knows what we'll see. Reddit's been bought long ago. Yeah, yeah. I mean, I know it is, but I'm just pointing out that this is a new thing that I just find really disturbing. It's like suddenly these are the designated bad guys, and you can be a horrible, disgusting, violent, bad person towards them starting this month. Now Musk owns much of Twitter. That will be interesting. Yeah, I don't know. Twitter has been, fairly. So I don't spend a lot of time on Twitter. It does seem like their main thing has been the pronouns, believe it or not. If you use the wrong pronoun or anything like that, um, they'll paddle your butt, real hard. You'll get suspended for the tiniest little thing. But they've been a little bit lighter on some of the other stuff, but not great. The other big question mark is TikTok. It doesn't seem like they've been as bad. I don't know. TikTok is kind of a younger generation thing. Um, Obviously, I don't think you can talk about certain Chinese things like Falun Gong and stuff, but those aren't really something that is much in the narrative right now. I mean, I don't spend a lot of time going, oh, in China this, China that anyway. So it would be pretty easy not to talk about China since they're not the main narrative. Um, but that's like the like kind of the up and coming, really, really fast growing thing. A lot of the young millennials and the Gen Z are on it. There's a lot of economic opportunity stuff in that, and that's one of the reasons me and a couple of people are looking on doing maybe some selling on TikTok. So if you guys know anything about how strict they are on subjects other than China, let me know because I'm just wondering what we'll be allowed to say on there safely. I mean, maybe China doesn't really care about American narrative. I don't know. And just don't step on Chinese narrative and maybe you'll be all right. Do you think about it? You're not going to get the US government running TikTok. You're not going to get Bill Gates getting it, I don't think. It's not going to get taken over by Google. I don't think Google's going to buy it. So if you want to talk bad about the West, maybe the trick is to be on a Chinese news dissemination system. China owns Reddit, so rules will probably be similar. China, that is a good question. Does China actually own Reddit or just a really heavy investor? I'm gonna have to check into that. I know that they're a heavy investor. So they're catering to China, but I don't think China controls it. Maybe it's because I'm for the time keeping anonymous on the internet was expected, but I've been misgendered a lot and I never found it to be hurtful. Yeah, I know it doesn't really bother me. I think it bothers if if you're already sensitive about it and it's a trigger for you. As a female on Reddit, before the little profiles showed images, I was often assumed to be a guy. I actually found it hilarious because the trolls would try to insult me in ways that would be insulting to a guy, but are not at all insulting to me. So I would just get a really good chuckle out of it. Okay, well, anyway, so that's about it. We're almost done. But yeah, just let me know if you know anything about TikTok. We're talking about going on there just to sell like some of my store stuff. Apparently, it's a pretty good business opportunity, and it's free. So I just have to get enough followers to be allowed to go live and stuff. But if I am allowed to talk about certain things on there, I may do some shows on there where I can talk about other stuff. I'm just not sure. But we're going through the effort of learning the system. So now I'm kind of want to see like what else I can use the system for. On the same time, I don't want to jeopardize my business too much, separation. Anyway, so that's it. Anyway, you guys came up with a lot of good Mandelas. So as usual, I very much appreciate it. Think good thoughts, everybody. This is Eva signing off for Once Upon a Timeline.